Hello, today we are going to be doing a walkthrough of the Shadowland Tarot. This has become one of my favorite decks. This deck is, first of all, it's by Monica Badirski. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. And it is an absolutely wonderful deck. Some people have compared the art to Tim Burton, and I can see the comparison, but it's a very different color palette, in my opinion. And I see a distinct difference between the two art styles, but I do see why people make the comparison between the two. Normally, I love boxes like this, but this one for some reason is a big pain in my behind, so I actually don't keep the deck in the box like I normally would. I actually have a special bag that I keep this deck in. You can see the backs here, and you can see that, yes, it is a gilded deck. Some people love that, some people hate that. To me, it's not one of the things that got me to buy the deck. It's also not one of the things that got me to postpone buying the deck. I waited for quite a while to purchase this one. It is kind of a pricey deck for a mass-produced deck, but I think it's well worth it. I waited for a while because I had seen a lot of mixed reviews. People seem to either love this deck or hate this deck. Now, I have always been a fan of Jung, and her purpose in this deck is like shadow work and sort of those Jungian concepts. So I kind of felt this deck would really be up my aisle and would work well for me, but I was a little hesitant to get it, but I'm so glad that I finally did. Now I'm going to move the box aside so we can look at the book. This guidebook, let me tell you, can you see how thick this is? This has to be, in my opinion, one of my favorite guidebooks that I've ever gotten with a deck of tarot cards. So each card has a picture illustration. Look at all this information about each card. We go to the card, the keywords, the shadows, the message. It's really, really great. It's really well done. There's a lot of similarities to the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. So if you're used to that, you can start working with this deck. She does have some different takes on a few of the cards or some different keywords here and there, but they fit perfectly with this deck, and I think they're wonderful. She has a bunch, if you can see as I'm flipping through here, there are a bunch of different spreads specific to this deck in the book, and this is just, in my opinion, it is a great guidebook. Usually, if you follow me for a while, you know that I'm not really into guidebooks or little white books. I kind of glance at them, see if there's anything useful, but I don't rely heavily on them. I have my way that I read, and I do a lot of research and things, so I sort of have my own meanings and my own way of reading, but generally speaking, I don't rave about guidebooks. I really like this guidebook. It has a special place for me, and I think that the guidebook really it's part of what makes the price tag of this deck worth it, because of the guidebook. Now, like I said, these are the backs. I am not a huge fan of the backs of the cards of this deck. I have thought about rebacking this, and I'm torn on that for a couple of reasons. Because it's gilded, it would be hard to reback. So I would possibly have to trim it, then reback it, then edge it, and I just really don't know that I want to do that because I love the fronts of the cards so much. So even though it's a personal thing, I do not like the color yellow. I never have. I just, I don't like yellow. It's my own personal little thing, my own little quirk. I do like the bats. They're so cute, but I just don't like that color, so it kind of bugs me, but I use this deck all of the time. I cannot tell you, this is one of the decks that I always have out, and I'm almost always doing readings with. When I do my yes-no pendulum reading with the shadow card on my Etsy shop, this is 9 times out of 10 the deck that I will use for that, because it is great. First of all, it's shadow themed. We've got the whole Jungian concepts, and then that particular reading, I'm drawing a shadow card for the reading, and so this just perfect. Love it, absolutely love it. If you work with shadow cards at all, this is a great deck. If you do shadow work, it's a great deck. Dream interpretations, this deck would be great for also. I personally don't use it for that because I have a combination of a tarot deck and an oracle deck that is just my absolute, that is what I always use for dream interpretations, but this deck would work well for dream interpretations. It also works well for past life readings. And one of the things I love is she did the art in a way that the art really does have to do with the meaning of the card. And so she tells you that, like, if you're looking for the meaning of the card, whether you remember the keywords and that she gives or not, look at the action in the card. Look at what is going on in the card for your interpretation, for your answer, which is something that I just absolutely love. But like I said, people either seem to love this deck or hate this deck. Either you can work with it or you can't. I am so happy that I can work with it, and I absolutely love this art. This is probably one of, from an art perspective, and I know I love so much art, and that's one of the reasons why I love tarot is the art, but from an art perspective, this is one of my favorite art decks that I have that is also a very good working deck. So without further ado, let us get into the cards.